The emotions we were all feeling 3 weeks ago in Hungary when at long last and in the most dramatic of circumstances, Jenson Button at last reached the top step of a Grand Prix podium.
The win for me was very special. You know, I'll always have that in the back of my mind, knowing that I've won my first Grand Prix and also the experience of the whole weekend. You know, it was a dream victory coming through from 14th to 1st.
From the rain showers and champagne showers of Hungary to the heat of Istanbul and another breakthrough performance, a first pole position for Felipe Massa. But Schumacher against Alonso could reach a new intensity here at the Turkish Grand Prix. It's round 14 at one of the best new circuits in the Formula One World Championship. So welcome to Istanbul and welcome to the Turkish Grand Prix. Good afternoon. Felipe Massa on pole position for Ferrari. Jenson Button at long last a Grand Prix winner. But as regards Fernando Alonso against Michael Schumacher in this increasingly tense battle for the World Drivers' Championship, well, Mark Blundell, 5 races left and we're now at the crucial part of the season, aren't we?
We really are indeed, and you can just see the tension building up. Even at the beginning of this weekend, it's getting more intense as we get towards the race. But I just see Schumacher just a little bit of pressure there, and normally the guy would absorb it. Just a little chink in the armour there in qualifying, just dropped away, but still managed to get a front row position. And
this controversial mass damper suspension system on which Renault were more dependent possibly than anyone else, that's now been formally banned, and that's a big blow for Renault, especially at this race.
It's a big blow, but the FIA now, the governing body, have said that it's an illegal thing to have on the car. They have, of course, run the last race without that piece of performance enhancement technology on the car, but I think they will catch up very quickly, and even throughout this weekend they're a little bit quicker than I expected. Come Monza, clever people down this pit lane, definitely at Renault, they'll get the job done there.
So maybe the advantage lies with Ferrari. We'll see over the next hour or so. We'll also be looking back at Jenson Button's heroics in Hungary during the course of our race build-up. But first of all, yesterday's thrilling qualifying session, especially the last few frantic laps that saw Felipe Massa claim pole position. James Allen and Martin Brundle look back at all yesterday's excitement.
Well, Renault have got through 2 Grand Prix without using their mass damper system. But, Martin, this is the first time this season they've been told definitively by the FIA its system is banned, they can't use it again. So it would be interesting going into qualifying to see how much their competitiveness would have been harmed by that. But first of all, into the knockout session, and quite a few clear underperformers.
Yes, David Coulthard had a bad day, got knocked out at the first hurdle, couldn't find speed or a clear track in the Red Bull. Rosberg still struggling to maintain pace and be anywhere near Mark Webber in the Williams team. And Barrichello curiously off colour this weekend, and Jarno Trulli too struggling a little bit back down in the second half of the grid. Ralf Schumacher taking a 10-place grid drop from what was actually a very good 5th position on the grid.
Yeah, it seemed early on as though the Bridgestones had the advantage, and we were expecting perhaps an all-Ferrari front row. Michael Schumacher on pole position. He'd been so quick through free practice, but he actually made several mistakes, didn't he, when the pressure was really on at the end of qualifying?
Yeah, we have seen this in past years with Michael, but 2 new sets of tyres and went off in the first turn on both of them and had to put his quick lap in with effectively a used set. So that cost him quite dearly. Allowed Massa to take pole position, his first ever, and of course put Schumacher on the dirty side of the grid, back right beside Alonso now, and it could be a crucial error, although you have to say Ferrari have massive pace and are still expected to be the winners of this Grand Prix.
Well, Alonso was always going to be interesting. What could he do with the car without the mass damper system? Renault have been working very hard behind the scenes, though, to claw back performance, and his pace was absolutely excellent. McLaren dropped up a little bit. They weren't as quick as we thought they'd be. Jenson Button, though, he's got a chance for a podium today. He's right up there at the front of the grid. So it's the curious case of the disappearing pole position for Michael Schumacher, but nevertheless he's on the front row of the grid alongside his teammate who has his first Formula One pole. 2 Renaults on row 2, Alonso and Fisichella looking strong. Heidfeld outstanding in the BMW, Button is right there. Raikkonen disappointing in 7th, but he may be carrying fuel. Kubica does a solid job. Webber and Klien both punch above their weight into the top 10. De La Rosa and Trulli miss out on the top 10 this time. Barrichello and Rosberg, they had a disappointing qualifying session on row 7. Ralf Schumacher was 5th, but he had to drop 10 places because he changed his engine. Coulthard had a nightmare. Speed out-qualifies Liuzzi, the two Toro Rossos, on row 9. Montero and Yamamoto, who out-qualifies his teammate Sato. And Albers was quick, but had to drop 10 places because he changed an engine.
I need to try to do everything to win my first race, but I'm very intelligent. I mean, the most important thing now is to help the team to win both championships, and I'm 3rd place in the championship. I'm really looking forward to stay in this position.
And what about Felipe's role?
First of all, he will start his own race because you never know what will happen with me. So first he has to plan his own thing, and then we'll see how the race develops. Will be an interesting start for sure. We know how difficult it is to overtake in Formula 1, so the start and the pit stops decide the races normally. So if we have a chance tomorrow to overtake them, we have to go for it.
Felipe Massa on pole position, and he certainly deserves it, but it might not quite be what Ferrari had in mind.
I don't think it was what they had in mind in the situation of putting the two Ferraris. Yes, they loved that, but they wanted them reversed. They wanted Schumacher on pole position, definitely to make sure that he was the fastest guy. Didn't quite go according to plan, but they still lock out that front row. Very important come the race, but the Renaults, as we know, Steve, are very fast starting, and that's going to be the issue.
But Massa still has a very important role to play in terms of his support for Schumacher.
100%, he has to play that support role. Even though he's there on pole position, he's going to want to try and do the race and win it, but I don't think he will be allowed. I think the situation will be that they will make sure that he blocks the Renaults from coming through and give Schumacher as much allowance as possible to get the championship done and dusted.
Now, conditions today, temperatures already around 35 degrees. It promises to be one of the most physically demanding races of the year.
You know, this is going to be tough for the drivers. It's 53 degrees track temperature, and even as we stand here now, there's heat coming through the soles of my shoes. As they're in the car, it's going to be extreme physically, mentally, it's going to drain them. And what we haven't seen also is the consideration that these cars through the corners are much quicker, especially in turn 8 here. Nearly some 10 kilometres faster through the corner. The guys are really getting a little bit of stress on the necks, and that's quite unusual.
But it's a circuit where you can attack, you can overtake, certainly if you're in a GP2 car. And earlier today we saw another of those storming performances from Britain's Lewis Hamilton. Came right through the field. He is a wonderful star of the future.
You know, he made mincemeat of the other guys out there. There really isn't any other term to say that, he just cut through. Nobody, I don't think, really put up with the fight. Glock was the only guy, but overall, a fantastic situation there with Lewis Hamilton. Brilliant result.
Well, he came from outside the top 20 to finish second and consolidate his position at the top of the GP2 Drivers' Championship over Nelson Piquet Jr. We'll have the full story in our GP2 program next weekend. But as regards the Formula 1 World Drivers' standings, well, it remains a two-man battle, as it has been for the bulk of the season. But that battle is certainly getting tighter. Alonso's lead down to 10 points, with a point that Schumacher took away from Hungary. That came as a result of Robert Kubica's disqualification. Alonso can't afford for the gap to come down anymore, and he can take little consolation from Massa beating Schumacher to pole position, because it was in the second session yesterday that Schumacher showed all the class and all the pace that maybe we should expect from him today.
The Istanbul Park for the 2006 Turkish Grand Prix, 5.4 kilometres, one of only 3 anti-clockwise circuits on the Grand Prix calendar. McLaren dominated this event last year. The man to beat this year is Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, but he beat himself and failed to get pole position. He's already made 2 mistakes in turn 1 on new tyres. We're approaching it for a final chance. 190 miles an hour down to 80. Still, he's fighting the car. He's been the quickest thing all through free practice, but the car looks very lively. Up to turn 3, he specifically mentioned this next part of the track as one he very much enjoys. 80 miles an hour, build it up to about 120, down to 60 for turn 4. The car will accelerate easily down the hill, but it'll understeer through turn 5. Now he can really get on with it. Bring it to the left-hand side, 170 miles an hour. He'll use the curb on the left as the braking point. Turns into the foot of the hill, the car will slow down more than normal. Now he can get on with it. The amazing 4-part turn 8 ahead of us, 180 miles an hour on the way in. You must kiss the next 3 apexes at 160 miles an hour. Traction control helping him apply exactly the right amount of power for a clean exit down the hill, 180 miles an hour towards turn 9. It's very wide. Carry a lot of speed through there. 10 is easy, it's uphill, a right-hander, and you're still accelerating hard. Down to 11. Looks quite tight, doesn't it? But it's easily full throttle with the amount of downforce he's now carrying. 180 miles an hour, creeping up to 200 now. He's still tweaking the brake balance with his right hand. He knows it's heavy braking into turn 12. down to just 70 miles an hour with 5 downshifts thrown in for good measure. 13 is immediately in his face. Now don't try and steal too much on the apex of 14. You need a clean exit to catapult into that pit straight. It's second place on the grid for Michael Schumacher.
Well, Giancarlo, not long before the race, as Fernando was saying, the Ferraris look pretty untouchable, but do you think you might be able to get Massa today?
I don't know. Massa is on pole. That means it's been the quickest yesterday, but I don't know. They are definitely quicker than us. So we needed to do an aggressive start and aggressive first part of the race to keep the pace.
And the key factor this afternoon? The key factor will be, everyone knows.
There are lots of keys. I think the start and, as I told you, the first part of the race, very aggressive.
Well, Ferrari certainly showed their form in qualifying yesterday, but Jenson Button also had his impressive moments, as befits his new status as a Grand Prix winner, and Jenson will start from 6th position on the grid, and his car awaits. And it wasn't just the victory in Hungary, but the manner of it 3 weeks ago that thrilled everybody. It might have been 113 races in coming, but Jenson Button's first Formula One victory was worth the wait.
The Hungarian Grand Prix didn't get off to a very auspicious start for Jenson Button. A blown engine on Saturday brought a 10-place grid penalty. Jenson lined up 14th for the start, with his mind on the wet and treacherous conditions.
Well, we'd gone to the grid on the standard wet tyres, so Jenson knew that it was possible to get around the lap on those. Speaking to him on the grid, he was telling me that, you know, most of the circuit was fine. There's a few places where there were rivers and you had a big snap, but for where we were starting, we couldn't really afford to do anything else. We had to take a bit of a risk. As it happened, most people were on the same.
Button's pace was blistering in the opening laps. He picked off the opposition one by one, climbing from 14th to 4th by the end of lap 7.
Every lap he was getting another car into turn 1, and you are impressed sitting and watching things like that.
Time for the first scheduled pit stop and time to start making decisions. Should he stop twice more or just the once?
We thought, well, it might rain for quite a long time, so we went for a 2-stop, which gives you a bit more flexibility, and hopefully, or what we were hoping for then, was we could stay on the same set of tyres until it got to dry and then just do the one extra stop.
Lap 26, the safety car comes out. There's a flurry of activity in the pits. Button's the only key player who stays out to maintain track position.
We had enough fuel in the car that we could stay out, and you know, if you could do 10 or 12 laps or something once the safety car comes in, then that's enough to stay out.
The halfway point, the track's starting to dry out and Button begins to reel in Alonso.
I'd gone on the radio to say, you're doing an awesome job, but I'm just going to keep quiet, get on with it, because he didn't need the distraction of me telling him. He clearly knew what he was doing, and I think we were a little bit surprised at just how quick he was. We knew that on very scrubbed tyres you could do quick lap times. We had a scrub set from the first stint that we had ready, but then because it was such a short stint, the fuel was going to be very fast, so we decided not to change the tyres because that would have actually held us up if we'd done it.
Lap 52, Alonso retires, Jenson Button takes the lead.
As the race went on, you suddenly thought, hang on a minute, we're right in the mix to win this. And I think that sort of dawned on people, and it, you knew what options you had at various times, but it was one of those races where, for us, unless we made every call right, we wouldn't have been in that position at the end.
Lap 54, Button makes his final stop, putting on a new set of dry tyres. He rejoins with a very comfortable advantage. It's an easy cruise to the checkered flag for Jenson Button's first race victory since 1999 and his first ever win in Formula One.
I think your first win is something that stays with you forever. When people ask me about my own career achievements as a driver, clearly there are championships, there's the Indy 500 win, but also the first wins, the first win I had in England, the first win I had in IndyCar, the first win ever, There are things that stick to your mind, and they're sweet memories, and I think that will last for a long time in Jenson's head.
Jenson, back to business, but back to business with a smile after the events of the last 3 weeks. Did you appreciate having a 3-week gap after that historic win?
Yeah, it was perfect, to have a holiday after winning my first Grand Prix. I just wish I could have had a party straight after the win, but I had to go off to China, and I also went to Japan to see Honda. But when I got home, you know, I celebrated it with my friends and family, and yeah, that's when I really realised what I'd achieved. It's amazing how much coverage we had. Just hope it wasn't too much, you know. And
never too much.
never too much. But you know, the win for me was very special, and that's that feeling will never go away. You know, I'll always have that in the back of my mind, knowing that I've won my first Grand Prix, and also the experience of the whole weekend. You know, it was a dream victory, coming through from 14th to first.
Yeah, you say life hasn't changed as a result of this win, but the pressure is off as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, I suppose pressure is off my shoulders, but it's pressure from myself. But also the team. You know, the team have had a lot of pressure on them this year after coming into the year thinking we had the best car and not performing as we should have. So, you know, it's lifted a lot of pressure off with everyone within the team, and it's nice to see everyone's a bit more relaxed now.
And what do you feel that you proved about yourself as a driver to those who doubted? Because you were dominant in just about every aspect of the race. Whatever the conditions, you were on top.
Well, it's something I haven't thought about really, because, you know, I don't think I'm out here to prove anything to anyone. It's you know, I won the race for myself. You know, in that way, I think you have to be very selfish. Also for the team, and then my fans. But yeah, we don't have the quickest car, you know, and we proved that in Hungary. You know, we just did the best job we possibly could, overtaking throughout the race, and also being on the right tyres at the right time. But that's not luck. That's judgment, definitely.
So the confidence in the team and the belief within the team must be enormous now.
Yeah, it's very high. You know, we know that today we got the best out of what we have. I personally did in the car on my qualifying lap, and the team have as well. You know, so that's all we can do at the moment. We can just get the best out of what we have and keep working towards a better car. But we can't do that here. You know, that's back home.
And you don't feel that you've replaced all that never won a Grand Prix baggage with a whole new burden of expectation now?
Not at all, you know, because I can only do as good as the car is, you know, and that's exactly what I'm doing, you know. For me, my performance here has been, you know, as good as any race I've competed in so far.
Well, everyone's behind you still, and there's a lot more of them, I'm sure, back home.
Thank you.
All the best.
In his new role as F1's most recent victor, Jensen's had a genuinely warm reception here in Istanbul from fellow winners in the paddock. Back home, Button was front and back page news. And Jensen's joy couldn't even be dampened by the Hungarian's rather eccentric choice of porcelain trophy.
It's fantastic, and you reach one of the maximum targets in your life, to win a Formula 1 Grand Prix, and I think this year will be unforgettable for him.
I remember well talking with Frank and saying, I think we should give him a chance. I think he's high risk, very young, but I think he has something.
He came, you know, with a lot of, let's say, good press into Formula 1, and then he came under pressure for no reason, because he's in a team that is a bit difficult. You know, obviously they're growing as well and trying to win races. He finally made it. Let's hope he will have some more success.
You're in the media spotlight. You're getting a little bit of stick from it, and then you achieve it. And then I think it just makes that, as I said, that extra step and that extra level, and that's the level that he needs to be on if he wants to have a chance of winning a world championship. And now he's jumped up that level.
It was good for F1, and it was good to see F1 on the front pages of some newspapers for once, and get a bit of credibility back out there.
It means that there you go, he's got one on the board, everyone can stop asking about it, and you know, he's made his future commitment to the team, so I think that's quite clear now, unlike previous years, and yeah, they've got to build, they've got to work hard.
He has done it in a style, and I'm happy for him, and I just wish him that it's not going to be the last, but it's just the beginning of a long victory.
And the problem now for Jensen Button is follow that mark, but it's a nice problem to have. So many tributes paid to Jensen over the last couple of weeks, but what about a tribute to the team who made so many difficult decisions and got them all right?
I think, you know, a lot has has to go down to the team strategically, and what they gave Jensen to race with on the day was good enough to win the Grand Prix. Jensen now sits there, he is a Grand Prix winner, but what we do now know is that he needs something under him to be consistently winning Grand Prix, and his aim now will be to win races and now go on to win a World Championship.
Let's go to another man in a Honda shirt. I think Murray Walker has been at most of the key big moments of British motorsport over the last 50 years, but I don't remember seeing him in Hungary. I think he's with Ted.
Yes, absolutely, Stephen. He's a big Button fan. Murray, what did you think of Jensen's win?
Ted, I'm embarrassed to say that I was actually on a cruise ship in Greenland, and I didn't even know what the result was until Tuesday, and that was only because I asked the German radio operator to find out for me. And when he came back and said it's Jensen Button, I said, look, my friend, in England we have an expression, wind up. I said, is this a German wind up for the only Englishman on the ship? Oh no, he said, it's quite true. And I thought, well, it would be just the one I missed, wouldn't it?
So you still haven't seen the race?
No, but I've got it recorded and I'm going to look at it when I get home.
Okay, thanks very much, Murray. Good story. Thanks. Back to you, Steve.
And there are a few Jensen Button fans who missed that great race, but have enjoyed everything that's happened since. Now, the task for Jensen today, Mark, he's got ambitions of a podium finish, and it is within his reach.
Oh, definitely. I think the car is looking like it's got the performance to get on the podium. The thing for me now is that the pressure's off Jensen's shoulders. He comes here, Grand Prix winner, as we say. He's vindicated. Now the team, Honda, have to deliver this car to perform every time. He's done his job. But I think today's possible for a podium. I'd like to see an outright win again, but as we stand with the pace of the Ferrari, I think it'll be tough.
So the pressure's off his shoulders, as you say, in psychological terms. But what about in physical terms? The physical demands of this circuit, it's a left-hand circuit, anti-clockwise. What does that mean for the drivers?
Well, you know, we only have 2 or 3 circuits on the calendar where you have this anti-clockwise situation, and the left-hand corners, especially turn 8, is a high amount of G on the driver's necks. It's going to be tough for him, but the big thing for me, reflecting on the GP2 race, we know that there's several overtaking positions on the circuit, and we saw Jensen in Hungary. I think we're going to see some more from him again.
And Jensen is one of the fittest guys around. He's worked so hard on that in recent years.
Oh, he is one of the fittest guys around. I mean, you only have to look at the guy. He's a true athlete. But it's going to be a big ask for him today, and all the guys in the pit lane, what they're going to get done, because conditions are very hot and they're going to be very tough.
The hard thing to explain for the audience back home, who have been really fired up by what Jensen has achieved, is why he can't do it week in, week out, and he's been having to explain. I haven't got the car for it.
Well, he said in the video clip now, you know, if I get the car, I get the job done, and that is basically what it's all about. It's like horse racing, Steve. You know, you can have an old nag with the best jockey and it's never going to win. You have a great horse with the best jockey, like Jensen with the Honda on the day, they can get the job done. He has to have the equipment, but he doesn't have to do that job anymore. He's vindicated. They need to get a car more consistent.
Off he goes with a flourish. Jensen Button, now Grand Prix winner, and will allow him to get out on the grid, and we'll be out with the whole of this Turkish Grand Prix field in just a few minutes' time. But now, Question Mark is our feature on the ITV F1 website, where you can put your own questions to be answered by Mark Rundell. Here's this week's topic.
Benjamin Ryan from Dorchester asks, why do the team still use pit bulls to relay the information to the driver when radio communication is so efficient? Well, we've got Alex Wirtz here from the Williams team to explain all.
Well, a fair question. Sure, everyone had already technical problems, so it can happen in a Formula 1 car with the radio. That's why we still keep to the old tradition of the pit board. And just let me explain you what it shows. So here is P1, dream position. Of course, you're leading the race, and that means the time gap I have to the guy behind me. So plus is for advantage of 5 seconds over Mark Webber, which I particularly would like next year, of course. And then L8 means L8, 8 laps to go, so it's counting down to the last lap of the race.
Okay, well, the other thing, Alex, is you've got 58 different variations of information here, so there's quite a lot to remember.
Yes, in fact there is. I mean, the easy ones can show you here brakes. That means I have to watch out for my brakes. They are too hot or too much brake wear. Clutch, very important in case you have it in front of a pit stop, so you know your clutch is wrong. Here we have, for example, temperature. I have to watch out for engine temperatures. Let's say Stearns, and I have no idea what it means, so please don't tell my team.
Well, I hope that Alex is going to remember this information for next year when he's competing back in Grand Prix.
Good luck with that. Monza is a wonderful Grand Prix venue, and this one is pretty good as well. Big crowd, scorching temperatures here at the Istanbul Park. Second year of the Turkish Grand Prix at this circuit, which received so much praise last year for the quality of the facilities and the qualities of the track. But as Louise tells us, it's now establishing its place on the F1 social calendar as well. A lot goes on in Turkish Grand Prix week.
Istanbul is a city bursting with culture and history. Founded as Byzantium in 660 BC, it was the centre of the Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the world in the 16th and 17th century. Straddling the Bosphorus, the stretch of water that divides Europe and Asia, Istanbul is home to around 15 million people, making it Turkey's largest city.
A lot of history here, which is good. Last year I went to see, obviously, going away from the city a little bit to Gallipoli, which was interesting for me to go and see that. Some of my relatives fought there. I don't know if I'd come in for a holiday, particularly to Istanbul. It's a busy, bustling city, but there's some beautiful parts of Turkey which, of course, are very attractive.
But it's good. I mean, we have been well received. People look after Formula One quite good. You know, when you come here, the attention media is quite big. City itself is nice, just a horrible traffic, but you know, same in London, I guess. So
Busy, crazy busy actually. The drivers are just crazy, but it makes a big difference, and I liked it. I've been here since Sunday night, visiting the tourists, the typical tourist things. I went to the spice bazaars and the big bazaar, and see the most famous mosques as well. Very nice.
Turkey might be the home to one of the world's most ancient civilizations, but there's a thoroughly modern heart to Istanbul. This is Reina, one of the city's hottest nightclubs, and tonight it's playing host to everybody who's anybody in Formula One. The party was loud, lively and rather chaotic, just like Istanbul. But the Red Bull crew seemed to be enjoying themselves even after Ferrari turned up unexpectedly and licked their table.
First, it's a good town, isn't it? It's a great, a lot of activity here, and there's lots of parties like this going on all the time. This is Formula One.
For me, the most incredible thing is the bridge. When you go from the fact that you can go from one continent to the other, you know, for me, I remember being here last year, I was driving and I was taking pictures because it's quite unique.
Missy Elliott was the top turn up on stage.
Formula One is pushing the limits, so I hope that we push the limits of having pleasure tonight in one way or the other and have fun. Let's have fun tonight, that's what it's all about.
Over 2,000 people did just that, partying till the small hours, but not David Coulthard and his fiancée Karen. They headed home for an early night.
Yes, it's got glamour, Istanbul, as well as a very good Grand Prix, a circuit full of challenges and possibilities, and it'll be a crowd of well in excess of 100,000 for this afternoon's race. Martin Brundle is back with us this week, and he'll be out on that Istanbul grid when our build-up continues in a few minutes' time. Istanbul Park, one of Formula One's newest venues, and already, especially from the driver's point of view, one of the best and the most challenging. And in today's heat, with temperatures heading the mid-30s, it's a physical challenge as well. But huge crowds have come here to this circuit, which is about 40 kilometers outside Istanbul today. We'll be with Martin Brundle at the front of the grid in a moment, but a fair way back, row 8 in fact, Ralf Schumacher, and he's talking with Louise.
Ralf, you've had to take a 10-place grid penalty because of an engine problem, but it's dropped you back into an interesting little posse. You've got Rosberg and Rubens Barrichello around you. It's going to be some big battles down here.
I'm sure it will be. I mean, we saw last year, first turn is very exciting. We'll hope that this year I come through without losing my front wing, and then we'll see. I think, the car is strong. There's a lot to be gained this race, I guess.
How quick is your car and how easy is it to overtake people here?
Well, I mean, there is a spot to overtake, but you need a lot more speed in the cars around you. And since Formula One cars are very similar in straight line speed, it will be difficult, but we'll try hard.
Stay cool, have a good one.
Thank you.
As Bernie Eccleston surveys his domain, let's remind you that it's an all-Ferrari front row, Felipe Massa on pole, Michael Schumacher alongside him, an all-Renault second row, Fernando Alonso and Giancarlo Fisichella. And we missed him in Hungary, and he missed Jensen, but Martin Brundle is back with us here in Turkey, and that means we can get his very individual insight into what's going on down on that grid.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. A little interesting aside before we head off down the grid. This is the biggest displaced grid of the year. The start line is here to move the mega stars and the beautiful cars in front of the grandstands and the VIP enclosure up there. And the finish line is several hundred meters along. Now, what's it really all about on this grid? Felipe Massa is on pole position, but he shouldn't be on pole position because they wanted Michael Schumacher to be there. He made 2 critical errors. For sure, Massa is fueled lighter than Michael Schumacher. They've got to orchestrate that down to the first corner somehow. None of the drivers about at the moment. Something I do want to show you, if we can get in here, Andy. There's over on the right, and they're just retaping it on a headrest. All of the drivers are having to run a headrest on the right-hand side. And I spoke to one of them. He said it's impossible to drive this race without supporting your head, as fit as these guys are, because of that long left-hand corner, the anti-clockwise nature of this circuit. And the smart ones will be resting the head right from the beginning because it's going to be a long, hot afternoon. Now, let's just have a quick word with Ross Brawn, if we can. I want to just catch a quick word, Ross. Right, the wrong Ferrari's on pole, yeah?
Well, any Ferrari on pole is good, but it would have been a little bit easier if Michael had been on pole, because he's on the dirty side of the grid, and it gives Fernando a better shot at him. So keep our fingers crossed when we get through the first corner.
Now, you've got the better tyres today, haven't you? The Bridgestones look like, in these conditions, that they should be stronger.
They've looked very good. These sort of tracks change a lot over a weekend, and we're just a little bit cautious to see how they'll work today, but I must say they've looked very good this weekend. OK, thanks. We'll try and get hold of your driver. He's very sensibly, 50-odd degrees on the track. It burns the soles of your feet, and he's very sensibly standing over here. Quick one, Felipe, congratulations on your first pole position. There's obviously emptying a bottle of water down your back there and talking to somebody else, but his engineer is completely... just final words going on. Now, you've got a headrest in the car like all of the other drivers. How tough's that going to be?
It's just to be prepared, you know. The race is long. Turn 8 is very tough. So in case you need to use, we just prepare.
Now, you've got to be looking in your mirrors down to turn 1. You've got Michael, who's in the championship position. You've got 2 fast-starting Renaults behind you. I think you've got the toughest job on the grid today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, always when you start in the front, you look a lot in the mirrors, and we have 2 champions in my mirror, so it will be a tough start, but hopefully I can make a good start and stay in the front.
OK, good luck. It's going to be fascinating to see how they orchestrate Michael. I think it's all about Michael Schumacher today. He's got the fastest package, there's no doubt about it. I still think he's going to win the race. I don't know if Alonso is back on the grid, can't see him at the moment. But Alonso's got a damage limitation to do today, there's no doubt about it. I don't think he's got a fast enough car. Nick Heidfeld's done a good job down here at BMW. Another guy over there with Mario Thiessen from BMW, making us walk around a little bit today. Sorry about that, Andy. Nick, quick word for ITV. You've got a great grid slot, but are your tyres not too soft?
We'll see after the race. Obviously, I cannot tell you exactly what choice we made. But I expect a bit more problems today than we had yesterday in qualifying. On the other side, we have a tyre choice that needs high temperatures, and that's what we have now.
That needs high temperatures. My understanding was they were on the soft range.
It doesn't necessarily connect. You can have soft tyres that need high temperatures.
So you're expecting to be looking at the back of the Renaults or watching out for the McLarens coming through?
I think I have to watch my mirrors more than...
I think so. Good luck. OK, let's wander over and get... Button is over here, limbering up. We just got a little bit of time left, steaming here. Right, we heard from you early in the programme, Jensen. What's the last thoughts? Any news out there? Track in good condition, and what are you going to do this afternoon?
Yeah, it's really hot, which is good for us. Hopefully it'll be good for us anyway, wait and see. But our race pace was good yesterday and also on Friday, so there's only one team that, you know, we're very worried about, and that's Ferrari. They're going to be very quick, I think. But apart from that, I think we can have a pretty blinding race. It'd be good.
So have you got the pussy neck pillow like all the other drivers to get you through this race?
No, of course not. You know me, Martin.
I don't believe you. Right, let's see how. So we got just a little bit of time left, and let's see if we can find any of the Renault drivers. I really wanted to talk to Alonso. They're all just staying off the grid. It's absolutely amazing. And Flavio, quick word, Flavio, damage limitation, or can you beat the Ferraris?
Damage limitation.
Damage limitation. Why doesn't Alonso just take Michael off in the first corner? That would fix it.
If I have you in my car, maybe we're doing it, eh?
Okay.
It's the whole time.
Back to you.
Well done, Martin, and thank you. Damage limitation is the Renault approach to this race, Mark. And does that surprise you, the honesty of Flavio Briatore there?
I think he's being realistic. He understands the pace of the Ferraris. He knows what they've got to contend with. And all of the teams down the pit lane understand what the fuel levels are with the other cars. They've already researched it. And I think they can just put in a situation of performing well today, but knowing that the faster package is in front of them.
Michael Schumacher on the dirty side of the grid, as we say, alongside Felipe Massa on that front row. What are the implications? What does that exactly mean?
I mean, basically, it just says what it is. It's the dirtier part of the circuit, what doesn't really get used because it's not on the racing line. The issue with that is that he's not going to be able to get maximum grip off the start. What you will see normally is a lot of the guys just running up on that side of the circuit, trying to clean off the dust. But 9 times out of 10, the clean circuit side is always the quickest start line.
And Felipe Massa, first pole position, does his own thing.
Well, he's going to do his own thing, but as Martin alluded to also, I think they're going to be orchestrating something during this race because the important factor is Michael Schumacher, World Championship, Ferrari.
Yeah, here in Turkey, it's Ferrari against Renault, it's Schumacher against Alonso, and a race with really huge implications for the destiny of the title. We're into the final countdown for the start of this Turkish Grand Prix when we return.